Hey, what's up, guys? Should be starting up right now. Happy Sunday. Happy NFL Sunday. Uh, Excited to talk about Week 6 here. I think this is...
Hey, what's up, guys?
Whoops.
Should be starting up right now. Happy Sunday. Happy NFL Sunday.
Hold on.
Excited to talk about Week 6 here. I think this...
Sorry about that. I had that open in another window. So sorry about the echo, probably for a few seconds there. All right, let me tweet out that we are live, and then we can jump into it. Okay, so let's go. If you guys are new to the channel and live stream, how it works is I'll actually go game by game here, kind of talking cash plays, GBP plays, what I'm liking, and then once we go game by game, get through everything, I can give you guys kind of my final thoughts, and then get to questions there at the end. So I guess first, let's take a look at these Vegas numbers. Not a whole lot has changed. I think Falcons Vikings went down a little. I think Lions Jags went down a little bit. But let's go over these really quick. So Falcons Vikings, it's a 53.5 over under. The Vikings are 4-point favorites. Vikings have no Dalvin Cook, but Madison is going to fill in. I think will be a pretty popular option today. Ravens Eagles a 47 over under. The Ravens are currently 10-point favorites. Bears Panthers a 45.5 over under. Panthers are 1.5 point favorites. Bengals Colts is a 46 over under. The Colts are currently 7-point favorites. Browns Steelers is a 50.5 over under. The Steelers are 3-point favorites. Broncos Pats is a 44 over under. The Patriots are 7.5 point favorites. That line kind of jumped a little bit more in favor of Broncos with Drew Lock playing. Lions Jags 53 over under. Lions are 3-point favorites. Texans Titans 52.5 over under. Titans 3.5 point favorites. Washington and the Giants, pretty ugly one here, 42.5 over under. Giants are 1.5 point favorites. Jets Dolphins 46.5 over under. Dolphins are 8.5 point favorites, and then Packers Bucks at 55 over under. Right now, currently the highest of the day. Packers are 2-point favorites. All right, so we'll go a little bit different here. We'll go game by game. We'll start with Baltimore and Philly. I'll start on the Baltimore side. So Lamar QB at 7-7. Maybe this is the breakout game for Lamar. We haven't really seen it yet from him so far this season. His highest fantasy outpoint was 27.5. That was week 1 there against Cleveland. Didn't basically do any running last week, which is a little bit worrisome. But they were also playing with a big lead most of that game, so he didn't really have to run. They are favored in this game, but maybe Philly puts up a little bit of a better fight than the Bengals did the last game. So I always like Lamar for GPPs. The price it looks pretty fair. I don't think I go there in cash just because he's not running as much as he was last year. But don't mind the stack with him and either Hollywood Brown and Mark Andrews. Those are probably the only guys I'm really looking to on this team. So the top 3. Hollywood Brown at 6.5 does feel a little bit pricey, so I would just put him again. It's suited for GPP. He's got the big play upside. Mark Andrews with a weak tight end position. I could see paying up for him. He did have 9 targets, 6 catches, and a touchdown the last game. So, like I said, there's no real standout play on tight end. So if you wanted to spend up for Mark Andrews, I don't hate that. I probably wouldn't do that in cash games, but that's kind of the extent of my Ravens exposure. Like, I'm not going to mess with the running backs. The defense feels a little bit too expensive. I don't really want to target like Willie Snead. So, that's it for Baltimore for me. Let's talk about Philadelphia now. So, first we'll talk about Wentz at 5.6. I'm not doing it. There's cheaper quarterbacks I feel more comfortable with. Baltimore defense looked pretty good there the last game against the Bengals. Sure, Wentz could have a decent game. He's still missing Deshaun, still missing Alshon though. And Zach Ertz hasn't looked himself. So Wentz is the guy I'm not really looking to. Sanders at 6.6 is in play as a contrarian running back play. There's so many different backs I think are playable and a lot, in my opinion, in cash. Now, sure, right, we're probably going to get Madison and Mike Davis. We'll get a decent amount of that ownership. But I literally think there's probably at least eight running backs in play for cash games. Sanders is not one of them because of the matchup. The reason why he's in play for GPPs is he is a workhorse back, a little bit game flow independent, right? So it doesn't really matter if they fall behind here. He's still a guy that can utilize through the air. So I'm fine with Sanders and GPPs. He's going to be low owned. As far as the Philly pass catchers, like Zach Ertz at 5K, wish he was a little bit cheaper. He's really not looking like himself. The targets have still been there. Still no Goddard. Again, no Alshon, no Deshaun Jackson. Again, not really looking like himself this year, but maybe this is the game he finally breaks out. Not a lot of people are going to be on him. Like, it's not like we're getting him an amazing discount. So, yeah, again, fine for GPPs, but definitely not a cash play. And no Alshon, no Deshaun Jackson still. Fulgham's at 4-4. I'm sure some people will get to him. I'm okay. I need to see a little bit more. I don't think we get 10 catches, 13 targets again from him like last game. The ownership will be, he's not going to be super, super high owned, but if you land in him, that's fine. But I'm probably not going to go like out of my way to play Fulgham. Again, I need to see it more consistently. Greg Ward at 4-1 is just, yeah, he's playable, right? Ward and Fulgham are going to be the top two receivers. They're both cheap enough, so they should be playing from behind. Yeah, I'm okay with both those receivers as cheaper options, but that's really it for me on Philly. Let's talk about the Bengals now. So going up against this Colts defense, this game could be pretty ugly. We know the Colts want to run the ball. Mixon is one of those plays that is definitely suited for GPPs. The last game, they were playing from behind the entire game. He had 24 carries. He had 8 targets. So a guy that's kind of looking game flow independent right now. Sure, the matchup's not great, but the workload will most likely be there for Mixon. So definitely fine for GPPs who want to go there. I wouldn't go there for cash. As far as the receivers, with Boyd, Higgins, AJ Green, not a lot of interest for me against this Colts defense. Like, the price on AJ Green is tempting, I'm not going to lie. And no injury designation, 3.9K. I actually think he's playable. Again, you're not going to feel good. He hasn't been really good all year. But it's just a price point thing with him. I think that's really it for the Bengals. I'm not going to get to Burrow at 5-4. There's cheaper quarterbacks that I would feel more comfortable with. Yeah, that's really it. So let's talk about the Colts now. Another team that's kind of struggling offensively. I'm not getting to Rivers. Jonathan Taylor at 6-4 is in play here. The workload hasn't been super high in him, right? Only 12 carries. The last game is a little bit worrisome. He still is the number one back. And this is a game that probably going to be playing from ahead. Another positive is, again, Colts have a good offensive line. I guess a negative, we haven't really seen a ton of targets from him. The first game he did have 6 targets, but then only 2, 1, 1, and 3, which does lower his floor a bit. Yeah, again, I don't think I'd go there in cash. I would probably feel a little bit more comfortable with some other backs just because, again, workload and not getting a ton of usage in the passing game. But should be good game script. Maybe this is a game he gets 20 carries. Maybe you can get a couple catches here. So not saying Taylor's out of play, but I probably want to go there in cash games. Again, definitely not getting to Rivers. Ty at 5K. Did have 10 targets last game, 6 catches. It's just Colts is a run-first team. They're kind of a slow offense. They're probably playing from ahead. Those all things, I'm not overly excited about playing Ty. And I'm not going to get to the cheaper wide receivers. Now, tight ends, we have no Mo Alley Cox. Trey Burton, if you want to punt the position, is okay, right? In the first couple games, 5 and 6 targets is not bad for a guy at this price. Doyle, the target's been way down on him. If you want to punt with either of those, I don't think it's the worst idea because tight end is super, super no real good play. But that's kind of, that'll wrap up the Colts for me. Detroit and Jacksonville, so this game looks a little bit better here. These are 2 quarterbacks with Stafford and Minshew I think are playable in cash and GPP. Reason being, great matchup here. 6-3 it seems about right, but again, the matchup makes them more suited. So I think you can go there in cash if you want to. Galladay is a guy I think will be pretty popular in cash games. So if you want to go that Stafford-Galladay pairing in cash, I have no issue with that. Again, Galladay, I mentioned him. I think he will be somewhat popular here at 6-2. Good matchup. 7-8 targets. He's the number 1 receiver. Jacksonville's really, really struggled defensively. So, yeah, I don't mind that pairing at all. I think will be somewhat popular. But those are 2 guys I have a good amount of interest in on this slate. Hawkinson at 5-3. Again, tight end super, super weak. Feels a little bit pricey, but again, there's no standout play. So if you land on TJ, I'm okay with it. Again, I think he's a fine play. Marvin Jones Jr. is kind of an interesting buy low. He's still running a ton of routes, still playing a majority of the game. Only 3 and 2 targets the last couple of games. I think those do go up. He did have 8 and 6 the first couple of weeks. So if you want to buy low on Marvin Jones, again, I wish he was a little bit cheaper, but I think he is playable. And if you can't get to Galladay and you want to pair someone with Stafford, I'm perfectly fine going to Marvin Jones Jr. Amendola, probably not for me, and I'm not going to mess with the running back situation. So basically for me, it's Stafford. It's the top 2 receivers, and I think Hopkins is a fine play with a weak tight end position. Jacksonville, yeah, Minshew. Again, both formats. Cash, GPP. Great matchup. This game has potential to shoot out. He's had over 20 fantasy points in 4 of the first 5 games so far, and Detroit secondary is super weak. Now, yeah, there's some guys you can pair Minshew with, so I think Minshew is definitely playable in both formats here. James Robinson is not going to be super high owned, at least in cash games, but I think he is playable. He's a guy that they want to get the ball to. He's kind of game flow independent, getting a ton of work with targets. I think he is a little bit riskier than guys like Madison and Mike Davis, but I think he is playable for the reason of good matchup, getting a good amount of work, getting targets through the air. So, yeah, I kind of think Robinson's in play as a contrarian option. Fringe cash game playable, but I think you can do it because of the matchup. DJ Chark is active, 6'3". I guess the concern there is, dealing with the injury does make him a little bit riskier, but I think that's a fair price for Chark. Shenault and Cole are fine. I kind of wish, I was hoping Chark was out because that would have, boosted Shenault and Cole a bit more. So, yeah, I think they're just okay plays. I'm not really looking to anyone else on this team, like Eifert at 3-4, probably not for me. So, let's move on to Atlanta, Minnesota, another game I think will be pretty popular. So, yeah, there's a lot of different ways you can go in this opinion, in this game, in my opinion. On the Atlanta side, well, we have Julio back, and 6.7K. That seems a little bit too cheap for Julio Jones. Now, obviously, the concern is the hamstring injury, so I probably wouldn't do it in cash games, but I do like his upside a lot here in GPPs. I don't know if the ownership is going to be super high in him because people are going to be worried about the hamstring injury, but we know this Minnesota secondary has really, really struggled, and Julio obviously has that big play upside. We saw it week 1 there against Seattle. So I do like the price here in Julio for GPPs. Ridley is another guy I think does go low owned as a spend-up wide receiver. I don't think a lot of people get to him, but in 4 of the 5 games, he's had over 10 targets and over 100 yards. That one goose egg game against Green Bay. It doesn't worry me too much. Yeah, I don't mind Ridley either. If you want to go a full Falcons stack for GPPs, with Matt Ryan, Ridley, Julio Jones, that is always in play. Now, Matt Ryan himself is a guy I can't go to in cash. He's been too inconsistent. But, again, this is a good matchup. It was a good matchup last week against Carolina, and he only put up 7 fantasy points. So, I don't think I can go there in cash games. But, this stack is always in play for GPPs. Ridley, big play upside. Julio, big play upside. Atlanta, kind of a pass-first team. So, Gurley at 6'3", more of a contrarian play for the reason of not getting a ton of work in the pass game. Now, sure, it is good to see you got 4 catches and 5 targets. It's a good matchup here, too. But the price just, I wish it was a little bit cheaper. So, he's more suited for a contrarian GPP play. Gage at 4.8, probably not for me. Hurst with a weak tight end position, I actually think is playable. He's still running a ton of routes, still getting a decent amount of targets. Yeah, Hurst is fine for tight end, but that's it. Zacchaeus was potential value. Someone I would have gone back to the well if Julio was out because he played the entire game. Julio in now, it's probably not for me. Let's talk about the Minnesota side. So, I mentioned again, no Dalvin Cook. Madison's a guy I think will be pretty popular in cash. The game Cook went down. He had 20 carries, over 100 yards, 3 catches, 3 targets. Minnesota likes running the football. Great matchup. Atlanta's not been able to stop anyone. So Madison does seem like one of the better running back plays today. I think he will be pretty popular in cash. Now, is he necessarily a must play? I don't think he's a must play. I think there's different options you can go to if you want to get off Madison, but I do think he does seem like one of the safer options right now at his price and one of the better cash game plays. An interesting way to get off of somewhat chalky Madison is maybe you go Cousins-Thielen stack, right? Now, the issue with Kirk Cousins is, again, Minnesota is kind of a run-first team. Besides that game where they fell behind against Seattle, 25, 26, 27, and 22 pass attempts. Not passing a ton, but matchup makes him playable. fringe cash game playable. I think you can do it. Thielen is getting a ton of targets, 10 and 13 the last couple of games. Again, a great matchup here. So if you want to go like a Cousins Thielen stack to get a little bit different, I'm perfectly fine with that. Justin Jefferson, the price seems a little bit much. Only 5 targets the last couple of games. I'm okay with it, though. He's still playing a ton, and the matchup's great. If you can't get to Thielen and you want a receiver, Jefferson is someone that I think is at least viable. I wouldn't do that in cash games because of the price. And that's about it. Like, Boone will probably play the backup running back, but it won't get enough work for me to really consider him. Tight end, if you want to punt with a guy like Irv Smith, I've heard him mentioned a couple times. Did have 4 catches, 5 targets. Right? Tight end super, super weak. All you really need is like a couple catches from him. So it's at least in play. All right, let's move on now to Washington and the Giants here. Washington, so yeah, this should be a pretty ugly game, right? I think it's one of the lowest, if not the lowest over-under of the day right now, 42.5 over-under. Yeah, right? Not amazing. Kyle Allen, I'm not going to get to. Antonio Gibson is still getting a decent amount of work. He's going to utilize it in the passing game, but can't do that in cash. McLaurin at 5.7, he's still putting up big games besides that last game with bad quarterback play. Again, this is a better matchup here against the Giants. He's fine in GPPs, but obviously can't go there in cash because bad quarterback play, and that's it. Like, I want to consider Dontrell Inman for value at 3.6. He's the number 2 receiver. Besides that last game, 5, 6, and 5 targets, but you're really not going to feel good about that. So, I do want to mention actually Logan Thomas at 3.3. He's someone that I actually think you can consider punting tight end with. Sure, right? Only 1 catch the last couple of weeks, but price is cheap enough. The matchup's better here against the Giants, and he's still running a ton of routes. He'll line up in the slot sometimes. Like, first 3 games, 8, 9, and 7 targets. Right, sure, right? Downsides, shaky quarterback play, but he's still playing a majority of the game and running a ton of routes. So I actually think Logan Thomas is one of the better punt plays if you want to punt the position at tight end. Let's talk about the Giants. Jones. Again, I'm tilted. Last week, I was back and forth with my Derek Carr Raiders Chiefs stack versus my Daniel Jones Giants Cowboys stack. I ended up going with Jones, and that worked out very poorly for me. 5.4, sure. I guess he's in play for GPPs. He's a guy that can get it done on the ground, but I'm not going there this week. Slayton at 5.4. Did have a really nice week there against Dallas, 8 catches, 11 targets. The price did jump there, so not overly excited about it. Ingram, like I said, tight end, super weak. Besides the last game, 10, 5, 8, 7 targets. He just really hasn't flashed any upside, but I actually think he's at least playable here. Freeman, with running back so loaded, I probably wouldn't do it, but he'll probably get like 50% of the snaps. He's a decent pass-catching back. All in all, though, I'm not really excited about anything here on the Giants, to be honest, in a game that should be super, super ugly. So I guess we're about midway now through the game-by-game breakdown. If you guys enjoy the content, hit that like button. It really helps me out. And hit the notification bell and hit the subscribe button if you have not subscribed. Let's see. Again, I'll get to questions here. Someone's asking about Lindsey in cash. I think Lindsey's is playable. But again, a lot of running back is loaded today. Let's move on to Chicago and Carolina. So Allen Robinson's at 7K. It kind of feels like a lot, but it's hard to argue what he's done. 13, 10, 16 targets. Again, this is a decent matchup against Carolina, who we do want to target players against. I don't think he's be super, super high owned. I don't think he's playable in cash, but just because the price is up there. But it's hard to argue what he's done. He seems like a really safe play if you want to go there GPPs. Foles is probably not for me at 5.8. Now, Montgomery at 5.8, I think is suitable for cash games. He's playing basically the entire game here with no Tariq Cohen. And he's just a different running back, right? Because when Cohen was there, Montgomery was in very little passing down work. With Cohen out, he is a workhorse back. And 6 and 8 targets, the games that Cohen has been out, is really good to see. And Carolina's really struggled to defend the running back position. So I do have interest in Montgomery. I think he is playable in cash and GPP. I think he'll be somewhat popular in cash games. Again, you don't have to go there because running back's pretty loaded, but definitely someone I'm considering. Graham at 5K, I'm probably not going to do it. I know he's been decent the last 3 weeks here, but I just feel like that's a little bit too expensive for Jimmy Graham. I know he's getting utilized more in this Bears offense, but I'm probably not going to go there. As far as a punt play, like Mooney at 3K, if you want a punt wide receiver, is not the worst idea here. He's the number 2 receiver right now for the Bears. He's playing at 67% of snaps, 5'9" and 5 targets the last 3 games. Sure, hasn't done a whole lot with those targets, but I'm actually okay with it if you need someone super cheap. I don't think he's going to be super popular, but yeah, Mooney is in play as a min-price wide receiver. All right, let's talk about Carolina now. So Carolina, Mike Davis is going to be one of the more popular running back plays today in cash games. Now, is he necessarily a must play? I don't think you have to play him. I'll say that about every running back in cash. I don't think they're must plays because there's so many different ways you can go. The downside of Mike Davis, matchup's not great. Well, positives is he's getting a ton of work, especially through the air. 8, 9, 6, and 10 targets is really good to see and really raises his floor. Still getting good work on the ground, too, and he's looked really good. 13, 16, 16 carries. 7K is a fine price point. So, yeah, Mike Davis is going to be popular in cash games. I don't necessarily think you have to play him, but I do think he looks like one of the better plays in cash. Obviously, you can go there in GPPs, too, if you want to. Let's see. Curtis Samuel, I believe, got ruled out inactive. So, maybe a slight boost to guys like Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore. Both are at fair prices. The matchup's not great, so I wouldn't look to either of those guys in cash. But, Robbie Anderson's been really consistent so far this year. Bridgewater's not for me at quarterback. I just like, more spend-up quarterbacks. I like a few cheaper quarterbacks, so I'm not going to get to Bridgewater there in this matchup. Again, no Curtis Samuel. Probably Pharaoh Cooper or Seth Roberts filling in. I guess Cooper if you want to get like super risky in GPPs. But yeah, that's it for Carolina. Let's move on to Houston and Tennessee now. So we got Deshaun Watson at the top at 7K. I think he's playable in both formats here. 23 and 29 fantasy points the last couple of games. A pretty decent matchup against Tennessee. The downside of Deshaun is he's really not running a ton this year, which does lower his floor a bit. But, again, matchup is pretty solid here against Tennessee. I know they played well against the Bills last week, but I do have interest in Deshaun at that price. You can pair him with a bunch of different guys, too, like Fuller, Cooks, even Cobb, I think, is playable. David Johnson at 5'4 is viable here. Did almost have 100 yards on the ground last game. He's getting a decent amount of work through the air. The downside of David Johnson is he's not being a workhorse back like he was a couple weeks there when Duke Johnson was out. So not playing the entire game. Duke Johnson will come in for some passing down roles, third down. So that does lower the floor a bit on David Johnson. But as a cheap running back play, I think he is at least in play here. Again, mentioned Fuller, mentioned Cooks, mentioned Cobb. Fuller, the 6.8 price feels a little bit pricey, so I put him more suited for GPPs, but does have the big play upside. He has a touchdown in the last 3 games. He's a guy they look to in the red zone, obviously, and if you want to pair him with Deshaun Watson, he's probably the safest target. Cooks, after he was chalked 2 weeks ago, completely busted, bounced back in a big way, 8 catches, 12 targets. Well, we're playing it somewhat in the middle, right? We're not going to get a 0-catch game. We're not going to get a 161-yard game from Cooks. We'll get in the middle of that somewhere. Now, sure, he's been up and down this season, right? 4, 14, 5, 0, 33 fantasy points. But he's still playing a good amount of the game. He's the number 2 receiver. 5K, the price doesn't feel amazing on him. But if you want to go like a Texan stack in GPPs and you can't get to Fuller, Cooks would probably be the guy I would go to. Cobb at 4-4 playing out of the slot will play 60-ish% of the snaps. Not a guy that has enormous upside. The targets have been decent on him. I at least think he's in play, but I wouldn't go there in cash games. Again, mentioned Duke Johnson. I'm not going to go there with running back so loaded. And tight end, I don't really want to mess with Darren Fells there at 3.8. So let's move on to Tennessee. Tennessee is a team I think will be pretty popular here for this week. Well, we'll start at the top, Derrick Henry. So Derrick Henry, 7.3, is one of those running backs I think will be somewhat popular in cash. The reason I don't think he's going to be like the most popular play is because we have A.J. Brown at 5'6", who I think is probably going to be one of the top owned wide receivers this week. So maybe people don't want to play Brown and Henry together. Now, positives with Derrick Henry, great matchup. He's a workhorse back. Downside, no real involvement in the pass game, which does lower his floor. If the Titans are playing from ahead in this game, you could see close to 30 carries from Derrick Henry. 7.3 is a very fair price point, so I'm perfectly fine if you want to go there. There is some risk, right? No real involvement in the passing game. If they do fall behind early, it would make him, it wouldn't necessarily phase him out, but Tannehill's at 5.9. I actually think he's playable here in both formats because of the matchup. Oh, sure, right? Tennessee is a run-first team, but I think Tannehill at below 6K is doable here. He's a guy that can get some rushing yards. He had 40 yards in the ground that last game. Again, A.J. Brown is going to be really popular if you want to pair him with A.J. Brown. I think that's fine. And again, we'll get to A.J. Brown now at 5.6. He's going to be one of the most popular plays of the day. 5.6 does this feel too cheap for the number one receiver here for the Titans. Great matchup. So, yeah, I'm perfectly fine going to A.J. Brown. He's going to be really, really popular, I think, in cash games. Other options, Juju Smith is at 5.2. Has got targeted a good amount. 7.58, 7 targets. Tennessee's still pretty thin at wide receiver, so he has 5 touchdowns in 4 games. The guys they're looking to in the red zone. The price, I wish he was a little bit cheaper, but like I said, Tennessee or tight end, I don't think there's a standout play. So if you want to spend up a bit, Juju Smith is a guy that I think is in consideration. We still know Corey Davis. Adam Humphries is back, and I think he is actually a pretty decent play here. I don't know why they have him listed as COVID because he is reinstated here. He'll probably be their number 2 receiver, 7, 6, and 7 targets. The games he's played, the price is fair. If you want to get off a chalky A.J. Brown and go Humphries, that's fine. Or you could just go a full Tennessee stack with Humphries and A.J. Brown with Tannehill. So, yeah, Tennessee is a team I think will be pretty popular. I think there's a decent amount of ways you can go, right? You got Henry at the top. You have both wide receivers that are in play. I think Juju Smith looks pretty decent. And then I think Tannehill's suited in both formats as well. Let's talk about Cleveland and Pittsburgh. Kareem Hunt at 6.9. I wish he was a little bit cheaper. Did have 20 carries last game. No Nick Chubb. I think, the carries will go up a bit on him. The passing game work, he's a decent passing back. He's still not going to be a true workhorse back because the Browns, they don't really like playing a true workhorse back. But, yeah, I think he's fine in GPPs. The downside is not really a great match for against the Steelers defensively. OBJ, Jarvis Landry, they're both dealing with some illness for OBJ and, I guess, ribs for Jarvis Landry. The price is fair there for OBJ and Jarvis, but I'm not going to go out of my way to play either. Browns are run-first teams. So, yeah, I'm not super excited about that. Baker, 5.7. I'm not going to get to him either. I just think there's better plays here. Browns will alter their game plan to protect Baker. Okay. Doesn't really do a whole lot for me. I wasn't really considering Baker either way. So, yeah, Browns, team I'm not overly excited about. The Steelers, Connor at 7.1. Running back super loaded. He'll play a majority of the game. He'll get some passing down work. I wish he was a little bit cheaper. So I think more suited for GPPs. I think feel a little bit more comfortable with some other backs. But yeah, Connor's not he's a guy you can always look to because he'll probably get the goal line carries. He's a guy that can get you a good amount of work through the air. Big Ben at 6.7 just feels a little bit too pricey for me. I'm not going to go there. We have no Deontay Johnson, so Claypool is viable here. I don't think he's going to be super high owned, but still did have an insane game last game. 7 catches, 11 targets, 4 touchdowns overall, 45 fantasy points. We're not going to get close to that, but the Steelers do want to give this guy the ball, and he'll play a decent amount of game there with no Deontay Johnson. So he's at least in play. I would not expect anywhere near that 45 fantasy point game. Juju feels a little bit too pricey for me at 6.6. I like other wide receivers at a similar price range. Ebron is fine. Targets have been there for him. He's a guy that can look to in the red zone. He always has issues dropping passes, but 4.1K is a fair price for him. Cleveland struggled against tight ends. That about wraps up for the Steelers for me. Talk about Denver and the Patriots here. So, big news, Drew Lock active. I'm not going to get to him against Patriots who are pretty good defensively. No Melvin Gordon, too. Jerry Jeudy at 5.5, I'll pass. I'm not really interested in the pass catching the wide receivers here. Tim Patrick's not for me. I think the one guy I think is in consideration here is Philip Lindsay. 4.3K is cheap, and he's going to be their primary back with no Melvin Gordon. Now, I still think they will utilize Royce Freeman a bit here. He's at the flat man. I'm not really interested in him, but I think he does get a decent amount of work. Let's go back to Philip Lindsay. The reason I think Philip Lindsay is in praise, it's just a price point, right? Again, matchup is not good here, but he's a good pass-catching back. I think that they can look to him. I think he is playable in cash if you want to, just because of the price point, right? So, yeah, Philip Lindsay is someone that, as a really, really cheap play at running back, I think is in consideration in both formats. Now, is he a must-play? No, because, again, matchup, but he should get a majority of the work. Good passing back, and the price is really, really cheap. So, yeah, I think he looks like one of the better cheap plays of the day for sure here. Let's start with the Patriots. This game in general, I'm just not overly excited. Besides Philip Lindsay, I don't really want any exposure. Cam Newton at 6'5". They're 7.5-point favorites. We know the Patriots want to run the ball when they're playing from ahead. They want to slow down the game. So, I'm not overly excited about Cam Newton here at that price. I'm not going to get to Edelman at 5'6", and the reason of Patriots, they want to run the ball, and this is a game they're going to be playing from ahead most likely here. So, not really interested in any of the receivers with Harry or Bird. I know they're both cheap. I don't feel good about it. The defense, Patriots, yeah, they're fine, but Drew Lock coming back. I wish the defense would have been a little bit cheaper. Running back situation is kind of a mess, too. White, Burkhead, Damian Harris. Harris will be the guy they'll go to on the ground. White and Burkhead more through the air, but I don't really feel you can't really feel comfortable with any of those guys, in my opinion. So Patriots are a team that it's kind of a stay away. Talk about the Jets of Miami now. So Crowder at 6'1". I mean, it's hard to argue what he's done, right? 10, 13, and 10 targets the first 3 games. Getting a ton of work through the slot. He's basically been the only consistent player here for the Jets. So I think he's at least in play. I'm not going to do it, but again, it's hard to argue what he's done. Flacco, I'm not playing Joe Flacco. Perriman's back, so that does make Jeff Smith out of play for me. Jeff Smith was a potential punt play at wide receiver, but with Perriman back, I'm worried about his workload, so I'm not going to go to Jeff Smith. I'm not going to go to either running backs with Gore or Perine. I know they're the min price, but I just don't think we have to do it. They have Ty Johnson, too. Herndon's been a disappointment. Yeah, Jets are, besides Crowder, it's hard to feel good about any of these players. I'm not playing Perriman himself coming off the entry of 4-1. It's ugly. Now, the Dolphins, there's a little bit more to like here. Pretty good matchup here against the Jets. Devonte Parker is at 6'3". He's been their most consistent receiver. Did have a kind of a down week last week, kind of salvaged it with a touchdown. But before that, 12, 5, and 8 targets. He's getting targeted a good amount. He's playing a majority of the game. He's Fitzpatrick's number 1 wide receiver and a good matchup here. So Parker's in play. Fitzpatrick is suitable in both formats. I think he will be somewhat popular because of box score watchers, right? 27, 25, 26, 30 fans points is really good to see. He had a great game there against San Francisco. In a tougher spot. This is a much easier spot. He actually is a guy that can get it done a bit on the ground too, surprising for a guy at his age. But for all those reasons, Fitzpatrick is playable in both formats here. Good matchup. Price is fair. He's a guy that can get it done on the ground a bit. I'm fine with Ryan Fitzpatrick if you want to go there. Gesicki, it feels a little bit too pricey for me. Now, Myles Gaskin at 5'4", I do like this price on him, and I like it a good amount. I don't think he's going to be super popular. I think you can go to Gaskin in cash if you want to. I think he is playable in cash games. He'll probably get 15 or so carries. He's a guy they're looking to a decent amount, targeting out of the backfield too. 7, 5, 4, and 5 targets. Great matchup. They're probably going to be playing from ahead. All those reasons, I think Myles Gaskin's in play here if you want to go that route in cash games. Preston Williams at 4.7. Yeah, it's just okay. The number 2 receiver did have a touchdown last week and over 100 yards, but not overly excited about the price there on him. I'm not going to get to Breida, the back running back. Davonte Adams is back, 8K. He's going to be a target machine here. The matchup against Tampa Bay is not amazing, but he is, the game he was healthy, he had 17 targets. I'm probably not going to get that, but Davonte Adams is a guy that has enormous upside, and Aaron Rodgers has been playing really well at quarterback. I think this stack looks pretty good in GPPs. Now, I wouldn't go to Rodgers in cash. Maybe wouldn't go to Devontae either in cash, coming off the injury and the matchup, but that stack is always in play for GPPs. And this is the highest over-under of the day. So Yeah, I like that stack in GPPs. Aaron Jones at 7.6. The downside with him is just Jamal Williams, right? He's never going to be a guy that's going to be like a true workhorse back because the Packers like getting the ball to Jamal Williams. So that makes Aaron Jones a little bit riskier, but kind of like a Kamara, right? He is just so productive with his touches. He's so talented. He's a good passing back. 7.6 is a little bit pricey, but the highest over under of the day, I think he's more suited for GPPs. Fringe cash playable. I probably wouldn't do it in cash. I feel a little bit more comfortable with some other backs, but yeah, Jones is always in play. The downside is just Jamal Williams, right? Tanyan at 5.1. I'll let others chase it. Adams coming back, had 3 touchdowns last game. I'm probably going to pump the brakes here on Tanyan. MVS is the number 2 receiver. I think it's perfectly fine. I think the targets have been safe on him. 6, 7, 4, and 8 targets. Again, highest run of the day. So I'm okay with MVS as a cheaper wide receiver. Jamal Williams himself, again, he had 8 catches and 8 targets. We're not going to get that again, but the Packers like getting this guy the ball, so that's why it always makes Aaron Jones a little bit riskier because they do like getting the ball to Jamal Williams. All right, let's finish up with Tampa Bay. So Tampa Bay, there's a lot of different ways you can go here. First, we'll talk about Fournette. He is expected to be back, but may be limited. So this is a tricky one, right? Because how much work is he going to get? We don't know. If he gets his normal workload, that makes Ronald Jones, me dislike him. Like I wouldn't be super excited about him. But if he's going to be super limited Fournette, well, we've seen what Jones has done when Fournette has been out. Over 100 yards the first couple of games and getting a ton of work through the air. So it's tricky because we just don't know what the workload is going to be for Fournette. But I do like Jones' upside. The price is super fair. The matchup's good. The highest over under. I think if you want to go there in cash, you can. The one risk is just, what is the workload going to be for Fournette? We don't know. But the 2 games Fournette has been out. Jones has been unbelievable. So gotta like his upside there at that price. One worry is just we don't know what Fournette is going to do this game and how much work he's going to get. Now, the 2 receivers look pretty good here, too, with Evans and Godwin. Evans at 6'9", he's a guy that can look to in the red zone. He'll get targeted a good amount. Again, the highest over under. I like Godwin's price a lot. The issue is just, dealing with the hamstring injury is always a little bit of a concern, but no injury designation coming into the game. The price looks really good on Godwin. So I like the price a lot. It's just, dealing with the hamstring injury does make him a little bit riskier. Brady at 6'5", I'm probably not going to do it. He's been up and down. I know it's a good matchup here, but I feel a little bit more comfortable with some other running backs, or some other quarterbacks, I should say. Yeah, Gronk at 4.4, 7, 3, and 6 targets. He's going to target a bit more. I guess he's okay. I'm not overly excited about it. Scotty Miller at 4.2 with Godwin back. Probably not for me. And that's it. So Tampa Bay, the 2 receivers, I think look pretty good in Evans and Godwin. Jones, I like a good amount. It's just, what is the workload going to be here for Leonard Fournette? So let's kind of finish it up with my final thoughts here. Quarterback, cash game plays for me. Well, I think Watson's fringe cash game playable at that price. It's more the cheaper quarterbacks for me for cash. So guys like Minshew, Stafford, I think Cousins is in play. Fitzpatrick, I think Tannehill. Those are probably the guys I'm looking to for cash games. Cash games running back. Well, like I said, there is, in my opinion, a lot of different ways you can go. I think Madison, I think Mike Davis are going to be the most popular, but there's a lot of guys in play. So guys I think are doable in cash. Well, Jones, super productive with his touches. I think you can throw him in there. Derrick Henry, Madison, Mike Davis. I think Robinson is fringe cash playable. Ronald Jones with Fournette stat. The only downside there is Fournette. Dave Montgomery getting a ton of work. Myles Gaskin. And then finally, I think Lindsey, if you want to go there for cash, I think it is in place. So those are probably the running backs I would consider. Again, that was like 7 or 8, right? Normally, running back is, I know who I'm playing in cash, but there's a lot of ways you can go. Now, full disclosure, I'm not playing cash games this week. I'm only playing GPP, so I'm playing a little bit of a riskier a build this week. Wide receiver for cash games, I don't know if any of the guys at the top will be super popular, but I think, some of these guys in the mid-range, maybe Godwin will pick up some ownership. Galladay, I think, will be pretty popular at his price. I think A.J. Brown is going to be really popular at 5'6". Let's see. Cheaper wide receivers for cash. I don't know if any of these guys really stand out. Again, if you want to punt it with like Mooney at the min price, I don't hate that. And any of the guys at the top, if you can fit them in, are always in play, right? And then tight end, I don't have a strong lean here on tight end. If you want to pay up for Andrews, fine. He does feel a little bit pricey. There's some plays in the mid-range. Hockenson, Juju Smith are okay. Ertz maybe has a bounce-back week. Hurst, Ingram. It just, I don't have a good feel. Like, I'm personally, where I'm going, I'm punting with Logan Thomas at 3-3, just for the reason of he's running a ton of routes. It's a better matchup here. I don't feel amazing about it, but that's what I'm doing. If you want to follow my lead, I think Burton's playable. There's no Mo L.A. Cox. Philip Rivers is like going to him last couple of weeks. If you want to punt it with Irv Smith at the flat min, that's okay. Ferkser, I probably wouldn't do it with Humphries coming back, but did have 5 targets the last game. So, and then finally defense for me. I had no real standout for defense. Where I'm going, I'm punting with the Bengals just because it opens up a lot of things for me. At basically the cheapest defense there at 2-1. I'm hoping they don't kill me. I'm really just hoping for like 3 or 4 fantasy points there from the Bengals. But if you want to spend up, the Ravens have been really safe. The Patriots have been really good. Colts going up against a rookie quarterback. All the spend up defenses are fine. I would go to the Packers there at that price. Defenses in the mid-range, Washington at 3-3, or even, the Giants at 3-2. That should be an ugly game. I think they're both fine. The Dolphins going up against the Jets. I think the Dolphins will probably be one of the more popular defensive plays here, just because the Jets have been terrible. So, in the mid-range, the Dolphins are probably the defense I would look to. But that about wraps it up. So, we have about 15 minutes to lock. Real quick, I'll ask one more time, guys. If you enjoy the content, hit the like button. It does really help me out. And subscribe if you haven't already. Let's get to some questions. Let's see. Bird might be viable at 3-5. Yeah, again, my reason for not really considering the Patriots wide receivers is they're pretty big favorites here, right? There are 7.5-point favorites, and they just want to slow it down when they're playing from ahead. We saw it in that Chiefs game, right? It was ugly. They were playing from ahead a decent amount, and they were just running the football a ton. Sure, Bird is going to play a good amount of the game. Did have 10 targets the last game against the Chiefs. I'm not overly excited about it. Jonathan Taylor or Sanders? Well, is it cash or GPP? For cash games, for me, it's Taylor. For GPPs, yeah, probably Taylor too. Who the Broncos starting tight end going to be? Is Font out? Did they rule him out? Let's go to tight end. Yeah, he's out. I think it's going to be Jake Butt, the Michigan product. I actually do, familiar with him because he played at Michigan. He's a good pass-catching tight end, but it's hard to feel comfortable with him. I probably wouldn't do it, but I think Butt would be the guy. Crowder or Ronald Jones at flex? For me, it's Ronald Jones. I know Fournette playing, maybe not. We don't know what workload is going to be. Does make him a little bit riskier, but matchup is good. Highest over under. He's getting a ton of work right now. So yeah, for me, it's Ronald Jones. Thoughts on Robbie Anderson? I think it's fine for GPPs. I wouldn't do it in cash games. It's hard to argue what he's done. It's kind of surprising because people are really high on DJ Moore. But it's been Robbie Anderson that's been the guy. 8, 10, 11, 12 targets. Right, the matchup's not good, but Bridgewater likes going to this guy. So he's in play for GPP, so he's getting a ton of looks. A Royce Freeman greater than Lindsey? Nah, it's Lindsey. Hollywood Brown? Yeah, Hollywood Brown is a guy that is always in play for GPPs. He's got the big play upside. The 6.5 price I wouldn't consider in cash games, but he's a guy that can break the slate. So always in play there. DK, what's up, buddy? What's up, Paulie? How's it going, man? Do you do NFL core at all? So yeah, so I can give you guys like a cash game core, I guess. So running back again. This is not where I'm going because I'm playing just GPPs today, but I think it would be Madison and Davis for me as the top two guys for running back for cash games. Now, there's a lot of different ways you can go. So which third running back would I go to? It's tricky. For me, I feel pretty good about Montgomery, the workload, getting a ton of usage, a good matchup. So that's where I would go if I was playing cash. Again, I'm not playing cash, but there are different ways you can go for running back. And then, yeah, I think for me it's probably A.J. Brown or Galladay as the other guy I'll throw in. I'll put A.J. Brown for the price, the matchup. So there's kind of a cash game core. Again, full disclosure, I'm not going with this because I'm playing GPPs. But if I was playing cash games, I think it would be looks. I would probably start my lineup with something like this. Fitz or Cam? Yeah, for me it's Fitzpatrick. I'm just worried with the Patriots and their game flow. Jake bought the legend. Stafford, Gaskin, Mike Davis, Evans, Galladay, Jones Jr., Juju Smith, Cooks, and the Dolphins. So yeah, you got the Stafford, Galladay, and Jones Jr. Stack. Are you running it back with anyone? You're not. So yeah, that's fine for GPPs. I'm getting a little bit wild in my early slate. Let's see. Kirk Cousins, Madison, Jonathan Taylor, Thielen. Okay, so you got a good amount of Minnesota exposure. Galladay, Irv Smith, Montgomery, and the Bengals. That is an OBJ. Yeah, sure. That's risky, right? You're playing a ton of Minnesota. You're playing no Atlanta. Yeah. Slay will be on, let's see, Jake Bud the Legend. Fulgham or McLaurin? For me, it's McLaurin if you can get to him. But obviously, Fulgham is cheaper. 4.7K flex. Who would you go to in GPP? Let's see. Flex 4.7. This is kind of a tricky range, I think. There's not a lot I'm like super excited about here. I would probably do Marquez Valdes-Scantling because it's the highest over-under of the day. He's the number 2 receiver. Aaron Rodgers has been playing well. I probably would do that or just go to Philip Lindsay at 4.3. How does this look, DK? Let's see. Stafford, Gaskin, Montgomery, Thielen, Galladay, A.J. Brown, Juju, and Rojo, and the Bengals D. I think it looks pretty good. I was going to do a Cousins Thielen stack for GPPs, now leaning towards Rodgers Adams stack. Yeah, what I'm doing, I'm actually playing Cousins Thielen stack in GPPs because Madison is going to be popular. So I'm just doing that to get a little bit different. Yo, DK, what's up, Matthew? Hawkins or Gesicki or Ingram? Yeah, don't feel amazing about either. They all feel a little bit overpriced. I'll go Hawkinson. Pick 2. Let's see. Galladay, Robbie Anderson, Crowder, Jefferson, or McLaurin. Well, is it cash or GPP? If it's cash, it's definitely Galladay and Crowder for me. GPP, it's probably that too. I think Galladay and Crowder are the top plays for me there. GPP, I'm going to go with a low-owned Matt Ryan and Julio stack. I like that. The Atlanta stack is always in play. Julio, Ridley, I don't think are going to be super popular today, but I do like that. Cousins, Derrick Henry, Robinson, Adams, Galladay, Jefferson, Irv Smith, and Lindsay. That's a little bit riskier. I think that's, again, if it's GPP, it's fine. Thoughts running it back with Madison. Madison is the guy that I think is a nice run back. He's going to be popular in cash. The price is not super cheap, but he will get a majority of the work and a really good matchup there. I'm playing Gaskin to save money over Madison. I'm fine with Gaskin, right? I think the price is fair. The matchup's good. He's getting a good amount of work. Lindsay, McKissick, or Swift in flex. Yeah, it's Lindsay for me. I'm rolling Fitzpatrick, Madison, Robinson, Fuller, Beckham, Parker. Okay, so you're running Fitz and Devonte Parker. Jake Butt, Inman, Colts. A little bit ugly. Let's see. Irv Smith is the key, but is that a chase? It feels a little bit like a chase, but the min price, it does open up a lot for you if you do play him. And all you really need is a couple catches from Irv Smith, and that's about it. So if you want to punt it with Irv Smith, I don't think it's the worst idea. Best guy under 4K. Let's see. 4K and under. Well, it's a little bit hard with all these running backs, so I guess I'll go to wide receiver because there's no real Running back at 4K I'm interested in. Below 4K, I think it's AJ Green for me at 3.9. I know matchup's not good, but it's just a price thing with that. It's a tempting price, so pains me to say it, but I think it is AJ Green. Stafford, Henry, Montgomery, A-Rob, Galladay, Crowder, Ebron, and Lindsey, Vikings. I am fine with that. DK, I think that line I sent you has enormous upside with Fuller and Julio. Yeah, I like the upside a lot there. Who's your quarterback one? I mean, I don't know. Like, you're talking cash, GPP. I told you guys I'm playing Cousins to get a little bit different for GPP, so I'm going Cousins, Thielen. I'm running it back with Julio. I'm just kind of game stacking that a bit. Cash games, I mean, I think Minshew or Stafford probably look the best in that Detroit-Jacksonville game, but you can go Tannehill. So I don't have a strong take on quarterback. There's no one guy that I really, really like today. Can you play Madison and Thielen? You can do that. I wouldn't do that in cash games, I don't think. But that's fine in GBPs. You want to kind of like stack the Vikings there. Fitzpatrick, Cousins. Is it cash or GPP, I guess? Because both are suited, I think, in both formats. I'm going to go Cousins, but it's close. Thoughts on Austin Hooper? Not really for me. Mixon going to get 30 touches again. I don't know about that, but it's good to see that, again, they were fell behind big time there, and he's still got a good amount of work. And he's getting more work in the pass game, too, which is good to see. So I don't know if he gets 30 again, but he should get a decent amount of work. Juno might not be the steal of the day at 5,200. He should not be 3,200 cheaper than Mark Andrews. I'm fine with Juno. He's getting a lot of looks in the red zone, a ton of touchdowns recently. Best GBP running backs, there's a ton. There's so many ways you can go running backs. So I don't really have a strong take there. There's a lot of guys I think are in play. So, yeah, I don't really have a strong take on that question. Do you think the zero reception game was a fluke from Cooks? Is he safe? Well, it was a fluke because he's a guy that's going to play majority of the game. But he's up and down. I wouldn't do it in cash. The price is up to 5K. He'll be lower owned this week. I'm not super excited about it. New Holiday Beta has taken over my life. I haven't played it. I actually didn't even bring my PS4 with me to Chicago, so I haven't really played at all. But I know a lot of people have been liking it. DK, pick 3. Robinson, Mostert, Sanders, Davis, and Lindsey. So this is running back, right? So yeah, for me, it's if price doesn't matter, it's Davis, Robinson, and Sanders. If price matters, then probably Davis, Robinson, Lindsey. I'll just look for DK, GBP, Tannehill, Madison, Davis, AJ Brown, Claypool, Cooks, Juju Smith, Montgomery. I think that's perfectly fine. Packers tight end about to go off. Yeah, Tanyan hit 3 touchdowns last game. We're not going to get that again. Davonte Adams back. I'm going to pump the brakes on Tanyan. If he has another good game, so be it. But it just feels a little bit too pricey. In my Millie lineup, I'm stacking Vikings, bring back with Julio, but playing Lamar quarterback. Okay, that's fine, right? Lamar will be lower owned. Maybe this is a game. He has the big game. Pick 2, OBJ, Godwin, DeAndre Hopkins, and Kupp. It's Godwin and DeAndre Hopkins for me. Will Kareem Hunt be low-owned? Yes, he will be low-owned. Is Thielen a must-play in GBP? No, he's not a must-play. Because the Vikings like to run the ball. If they get ahead early, I'm a little bit worried about Thielen. But, the matchup's great. So, no, he's not a must-play. Ridley is too expensive and will be Adams. And with Adams back, his ownership will be low. Ridley will be low-owned. He will. I like Ridley in GBP because he's going to be lower owned, especially with Julio back too. I think, as a spend up, people would probably look to Devonte at the top. Hawkinson, Gesicki, or Ingram. Yeah, for me, it's Hawkinson. Not really strong take on that. Thoughts on Laviska Shenault? Playable. He's fine. The price is not amazing there. Best tight end to play. I'm going Logan Thomas if you want to follow my lead. Now, do I feel good about it? No. He's cheap enough, though, where kind of like Irv Smith, doesn't have to do a lot to get me there. He's still running a ton of routes. Matchup's better. I'm going with Logan Thomas. I don't feel good about it, though. Is it bad playing Crowder and Jeff? I would not play Jeff Smith. I would not do it. With Perriman coming back, I'm not going to Jeff Smith. Thoughts on Jarvis Landry? He's actually playable. I didn't really talk about him. Reason being is Cleveland's a run-first team, but he's a guy playing out of slot. Price is fair. Not a guy who has enormous upside. If you land on him as the last piece, that's okay. Last week about Michigan football, go blue. I'm so excited, man. So excited for some Michigan football. Do you like Rodgers stack, Aaron Rodgers Adams stack? Yes, of course. It's going to be, I think, somewhat popular in GPPs, but always like that stack. Always. Pick 2 out of 3: Julio, Marquise Brown, and Adams GPP. Julio and Adams for me. Shenault or MVS? That's a tricky one. Both are the number 2 receiver, and both are in good spots. So I think I'll go with the discount on MVS over Shenault, but not a strong take. I think both look okay here. Yeah, give me MVS for the discount. Let's see. Any problems with this? Let's see. Tight end, Thomas. Are you playing? Is that Ian Thomas at tight end? I'm guessing, right? Because Logan Thomas. Logan Thomas. Never mind. Jeez, I'm losing it. Let's see. So you're playing Logan Thomas at tight end, wide receiver Davonte Adams, Brown for Tennessee. Okay, Mooney, Fitzpatrick quarterback, Montgomery, Madison, Henry, and the Colts D. I don't have an issue with that. I think it looks good. Do you like DK? Do you like this for cash? Thielen, Crowder, Godwin. I'm fine with it. Now you are fading probably some popular plays in Galladay and in AJ Brown, but Crowder's been safe targets. Godwin looks too cheap, and Thielen the matchup. So it is okay in cash. Again, I think you are going to fade 2 of the more popular plays. Thielen, Fulgham, or Galladay, McLaurin. Yeah, that's tricky. I'll go Galladay and McLaurin. Can you play Ridley and Julio together? Yeah, you can in GPPs, though. Obviously not in cash. Yeah, you can stack it in GPPs. That's always in play. Always. Let's see. 2 games televised where I live are Denver, New England. Ooh, that's tough. Ugly. Yeah, I just watched Red Zone. Russell Gage, he'll be low owned. Hasn't got a ton of looks recently. Probably will play the 3rd most out of wide receiver, but only 3 and 5 targets. After a nice start to the year, sure, he's in play, but I don't feel comfortable with it. We got about 2 minutes until lock, guys, so hit it up. Is Scotty Miller viable? He's viable, but with both Godwin and Mike Evans healthy, he's not going to play a ton. He will play the 3rd most. Now, how many snaps that is a little bit more in question. The targets have been decent. He's been a good receiver. 4-2 is at least in play. I wouldn't completely roll him out, but he's a lot riskier, I think, with Godwin and Evans both playing. Good luck to DK. Yeah, good luck to you guys. Let's see. Games for me are Chicago, Carolina, and Cleveland, Pittsburgh. Also, yeah, a little bit ugly. Can we see your lineup? Sure, I can go over. I can show you guys my lineup once we get to lock. Yeah, I only play GPPs. I played light today, but yeah, I went Cousins, Thielen stack. Ran it back with Julio. I'll show you guys the running backs I went with. Yeah, good luck, guys. Yeah, I'm excited to watch some football. Also, we have a 2-game slate, right? Monday. I'll have a video for that up later. Definitely today for that slate. Let's see, because we have some decent games for Monday Night Football. I think. Yeah, we have Bills, Chiefs, and Cardinals, Cowboys. That's gonna be a good Monday night slate. Good luck. Let's see. I went with Cousins, Mike Davis, Antonio Gibson, Thielen, Ridley, Humphreys, Irv Smith, and Kareem Hunt. So that's risky, right? You're playing some guys that I'm not overly excited about, but Gibson, Kareem Hunt. Yeah, not super excited about those guys, but that's good. Good luck. Let's see. Good luck. I can't trust Mike Davis against Chicago defense as a Bears fan. I don't think he's a must play. I think he is going to be pretty popular in cash. But the reason why people are getting to him is just the targets, right? Thanks for your analysis. Love listening to your takes. Hey, thanks, man. I really do appreciate that. Bears D is overrated, though. Yeah, I think they are maybe a little bit overrated, but I think they're one of the better defenses. You doing a Sunday Night Football live stream? Probably not, but Monday for sure. I'll do a stream. Let's see. I at least get to watch Browns Steelers today. Let's see. Peterson, Gurley, Ronald Jones, and he has. Hot take: Mike Davis is CMC. He's been good. He has been really, really good. Hard to argue that. All right, let's see if ownership is loaded in here. It usually takes a few minutes, so I'll stay on until we get that ownership. Thanks, DK. Good luck to you. Good luck to everyone. Yeah, good luck, guys. I'm excited to watch a ton of football today. Thanks, DK. You're much appreciated. Like and subscribe, everyone. Good luck, everyone. Hey, thank you. Yeah, guys. Again, enjoy the content. Like the video. Subscribe if you haven't already. Let's go. Let's get this money. Let's go, man. All right, come on, Draftkings. Load that ownership. I'll give it another minute, if not. Let's see. Ownership. Yeah, it's still loading in. It usually takes a while. Usually not this long, but I'll show you guys my lineup. What I went with. Actually, hold on. Yeah, I only played GPPs today. Did not play cash. But this is what I went with. I want Kirk Cousins paired with Adam Thielen. Ran it back with Julio Jones, so did a little mini game stack there. The running backs, I got a little bit different, right? So I went Robinson, kind of like his upside. I knew he'd be a little bit lower owned against Detroit. Montgomery, the guy I mentioned. And then Myles Gas kind of went as a cheaper running back. I also played Chris Godwin. I like the price a lot. And I played Logan Thomas, the tight end, with the Bengals defense. So that's my lineup. That's what I want with the GPPs. Waiting for ownership. Yeah, we'll give another minute. If not, I'll get out of here. But I guess I can't really look at cash game ownership because I'm not in any cash games. Thomas, 0.9% owned for me, LOL. Is it already up? I'm not getting it up yet. Maybe was that on FanDuel? Let's see. Oh, now it's loaded up at least. So this is in a $50 tournament I'm in. Yeah, I got Logan Thomas at like 1% ownership too. Bengals defense 12% owned. Julio 11%. Thielen 29%. Cousins 11%. Robinson 14%. Montgomery 27%. So yeah, I got different, right? Trying to look at some other ownership here. Galladay's popular, not a surprise. Again, mentioned him, one of the better cash game plays, 32% owned. Ertz 3%. Boyd, I'm trying to look at some other popular plays. Let me know, guys. Did Kirk Cousins already throw a pick? He did. Let's see. Gibson, 10%. A.J. Brown, 26%. FanDuel DK have been lagging with the ownership. Juju Smith, 13%. Played Falcon Showdown. Captain Captain, you want the kicker with Ridley, Julio Jones. Okay, I don't hate that. Thanks so much, EK. See you next Sunday. Good luck. Yeah, good luck, guys. Thanks for the stream, of course. Appreciate you, broski. Wow, my cashing lineup is super chalky. Well, what was your cashing lineup? Curious. Claypool 27% in the millie. Yeah, that feels a little bit too much. People, I mean, again, I don't hate the Claypool play, but 27%, that's a little bit too much in my opinion. Got Stafford 12%, Montgomery 23%, Thielen 26%, Galladay 22%, Brown 21%, Juju 16%, and Bengals D 8%. All right, so let's see. Tim Patrick 41-yard catch. LOL. Oh, geez. All right, well, I'm going to go watch these games, guys, so good luck. Hope you guys won some good money today. I'll have a video up for Monday's two-game slate. Really excited about that one, so I will see you guys all later. Good luck.